Well, hi everyone. Club Grubbery time again. Wednesday, the 27th of November. It's a couple of weeks till Christmas, 3 or 4 weeks till Christmas. And Johnny, good to see you back on again, mate. It seems like only a few hours ago.
Probably because it was.
Was uh, cracker interview that one, and that one will be seen. I don't know, early next week. I think we've got a heap of interviews in the can, and they're great interviews. But today we have the crew from Inform Me, which you will remember we kicked off some couple of months ago at least. We have Chloe Geddes from Inform Me who did a wonderful video which launched it, and it was fantastic. And also we have Peter Harris, who Peter's been very, very instrumental in bringing a whole lot of truth to the fore. He's the chairman of Stand Up Thinking, and this is a branch of that work, valuable work that he's done. Welcome to you both for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
My pleasure. And before we go, John, one news item which is pretty distressing, actually. Professor Gemma Carey, I think she was University of New South Wales.
Yeah, that's correct, Woody. Yeah. Diagnosed with, well, look, the reports are odd here, but our condolences to her family. It appears on the face of it that she suffered an injury as a result of the vaccine from the AstraZeneca vaccine. At least that's her wording from what I've seen. But it sort of dives into this BS narrative of places like St Vincent's Hospital that have got the St Vincent's Hospital lung health, which are obviously sucking the life out of governments and taking money for something that is something else. I mean, this is like chameleon stuff. This the post-acute and long COVID clinic. What is long COVID? St Vincent's Hospital says. The post-COVID condition of long COVID is the persistence of a new or unexplained symptoms and signs that last for more than 12 weeks after the initial COVID-19 infection, not injection, infection, caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Now, they've got a check sheet for this, Hoodie. Once again, more interesting stuff. So you've got to fill out this clinical practice guide for assessment and management of adults, children, and young people with symptoms of long COVID. This is guidance for New South Wales health clinicians. And so it says the definition of long COVID is defined by the World Health Organization as a condition that occurs in individuals with a history of probable or confirmed SARS-CoV-2 infection. Now, I'll just read this about Gemma. This was put out by Senator Gerard Rennick a few hours ago. A well-known Australian author and academic has suddenly died after suffering a lengthy chronic health battle. Professor Gemma Carey, formerly the Director of Centre for Social Impact and National Research Director for the Centre for Social Impact Network with the University of New South Wales, had spent 3 years on extended leave for long COVID. Professor Carey claimed to have sustained a serious injury from the AstraZeneca COVID vaccination in 2021, telling newsletter Crikey the jab gave her functional stroke symptoms. Every fine nerve fibre in my body became inflamed, she told the Sydney Morning Herald. Her injuries were significant and left Professor Carey in need of rehabilitation so that she could read, write and talk. As she endured the long-lasting effects, Professor Carey advocated for a vaccine injury compensation scheme, something that saw her become the target of online trolls and hate, probably defined as a cooker by Ray Hadley. The online hate became so much that Professor Carey took a leave of absence from her social media and work due to harassment that has cross-formed this platform into all aspects of my professional and personal life. I will be taking a leave of absence, she posted on Twitter. Well, unfortunately, Gemma has succumbed to this vaccine injury, and our condolences go out to her family. But what really needs to be done here is to ensure that her memory and her legacy is with those that are injured by this this vaccine, this mRNA nonsense that's causing havoc all around the world. And that's why we're here today, Hoodie, isn't it? To inform me and inform everyone else about what's going on in the world.
Oh, look, absolutely. And the fact that that the gaslighting has ramped up
Mm.
against anybody with who has anything to do with a vaccine injury. And we know people abided by the mandates. People did the right thing. They thought they were doing the right thing because of the narrative. They went and got vaccinated. And what happened to them when they got an injury? Zip nada from the government, nothing. And then they get gaslit.
Mm.
If this is the Australia that you want to live in, then best of luck to you, because I reckon it's a bloody disgrace that people like Gemma Carey are being gaslit for suffering a vaccine injury, for taking a vaccine that was recommended by this government and forced on people so that they could live a basic life. I mean, this is just despicable, and that's why Inform Me is doing the work of government. Inform Me is doing the work of government. And on Friday night, look, tonight's Wednesday night, in a couple of nights in Perth, there's a massive event being held at the Riverside Theatre at the Convention Centre in Perth. I'll be emceeing that event. Adrian McRae has set that up. Gigi Foster will be there, Professor Gigi Foster, and Senator Malcolm Roberts. Rebecca Barnett will be there. Julian Gillespie. Who else have we got there? We've got Russell Broadbent's going to be there. Katie Ashby Coppins, and the theme and the whole reason for that conference, not a conference, but that debate, is the fact that science has discovered DNA strands in the vials of Pfizer and Moderna, to the extent that it's 143 times more than the legal limit. They've also found SV40, which is a building block for cancer. Now, these questions need to be asked. An invitation has been extended to the Premier of Western Australia, Roger Cook, and a chair will be made available for him on stage. He can send one of his representatives. But look, let's simplify this once again for everybody watching. For those people who think we're crazy, what are we on about? If you thought someone was fiddling with your DNA or your immune system, if you thought there was a remote possibility, would you like to know about that or not? Because that's all we're asking. We want to know if that's more than a possibility, if that's going on. And we have a right to ask that question. And I would have thought that any thinking Australian would want to know that as well. And I've had people say to me, no, I wouldn't want to know. Can you believe it? You ask somebody if you thought someone was fiddling with your DNA or your immune system, would you like to know about it? I've had people so entrenched in their argument that they say no. We're happy to be wrong, but the proof is in the pudding. And I'm telling you now that Dr. David Spiker in Canada has examined the vials of Moderna and Pfizer from Australia, 3 vials. French scientists have also done the same thing. They've all come to the same conclusion. What is not meant to be in these vaccines, so-called vaccines, is there. Now, if you don't want to know whether that's right or not, and that's all we want to do, we just want the government to say, all right, enough, you're right, there could be something fishy about this. Let's have an investigation, but let's have a proper investigation. Not just pick a few of your mates and let's look into this. We need a proper bipartisan investigation into this that goes deep. It takes a while. Why do we need it? Because people are dying and people need to get better, and this government needs to apply its health budget to repairing the damage done by these biotechnologies. That's why we're doing it. So call us cookers, call us what you like. But if you do, we're doing this for you too, because, hey, we may actually find out that the jabs you have is fiddled with your DNA, that's likely to give you a turbo cancer, and your immune system is cactused and won't be able to deal with it. And while the government's denying it, there are people out there in the rest of the world who are non-compromised by Big Pharma, who are working on solutions to this problem to get everyone better. But they're not allowed to say anything or do anything because they're being gaslit by morons. They're being gaslit and they're being game played, and this has got to stop. And that's
the guy that's confirmed David Speaker's work in France I'm told he's like the Don Bradman of the medical world when it comes to this sort of testing. He is like completely, he's the go-to, and he's
Exactly.
confirmed it.
And what politician or bureaucrat who took their job seriously would not want to know if this is a possibility? I mean, anyway, we rest our case, and that's why organisations like Inform Me are doing the work that government should be doing, as you rightfully pointed out when we first interviewed these guys, John. And that's why we need to get underneath all of this stuff. We need to call out what needs to be called out. We need to reinstate people. John Larder needs to get his job back. All that stuff that was done to people, that needs to stop. We need to put them back, reinstate them. The firefighters in Victoria need to go back to work. All the nurses need to be properly reinstated to their former positions so we can get the health of this nation back together again. Because it shouldn't be up to volunteers like Inform Me and Johnny Larder and Graham Hood to do the work that the governments have paid all of our taxpayers' money to do. It's reprehensible. It's got to stop. That's my rant for the night. Peter, tell us what's been going on since you launched.
Well, we've launched the pre-series, and I'm going to get Chloe to talk about the pre-series, but we've been very excited to get rolling on this mammoth journey of educating the world, the parents of the world, the expecting mums and dads of the world about vaccinations for their children. The Australian government are the only government in the world that implemented no jab, no pay, and coerced thousands and thousands and probably hundreds of thousands of families to go down the vaccination pathway to grab a little bit of government money through their family benefits. And no other country in the world has done this. This is the Liberal government brought it in, and the Labor Party supported it. So they're all culpable in what's happened here. And one of our objectives is obviously number one is the no jab, no pay must be repealed, and we will be fighting that very hard in the coming period. It's people need to have choice about these things, and they also need to be informed. So Inform Me is going to be going on all through next year, and the pre-series launched a few weeks ago, and I'm going to get Chloe to talk about it. And Chloe's at the front line doing all the hard yards and the editing and a whole lot of work, and we've got a very long journey ahead of us, haven't we, Chloe?
We do. But I think, the pre-series for me has been a really enjoyable experience and revisit to this because it's such a lot of key information that really explains why we are where we are. So, our first module is talking about the difference between immunization and vaccination. And, in general conversation, we're led to believe that those two things are the same, but in fact, they're not. One is a procedure that you go in for to attempt to create the process of the other. I can be immunized just by getting coughed on and recovering from that virus or disease. So it starts from those basic building block elements, but there's so much information in there. I mean, so far we've gone through the history of vaccines and how they came about. We've got medical industrial complex and psychological coercion, and talking about the relationships between this pharmaceutical product and governments. And we've got censorship and where our legal status in Australia is sitting. Like, this is all important context and foundation for when you're making your decision for your children and your family. So it's been an amazing few weeks just revisiting all of that. We've got these incredible modules with incredible speakers. I mean, we've had Matthias Desmond on, Dr. Judy Wilyman, we've had Professor Robin Cosford, Dr. Jessica Rose as well. So in addition to that, sorry, I just feel like I'm blurring about it, but there's so much. We've also got, fact sheets on all of the topics that are a brief overview of all of the information. And then my favorite part, actually, and I've been doing them myself, are these personal reflection worksheets. So people can view the content, see what they've learnt from that content, but also explore how they feel about this issue themselves. Like, have you ever been to the doctor and felt coerced into a procedure? Doesn't matter if it's vaccines or not, but have you ever felt coerced into making a decision you didn't want to or weren't prepared to make at that point? And understanding the building blocks that make up informed consent. So that's a very brief overview, but there's a lot in there.
Wow. And John, you said it all. Governments aren't doing this. Well, if they are, we can't trust them.
Well, governments are doing the exact opposite, really.
Hmm. Yeah, it's exactly right. I mean, I don't know why there's not a balance of information. There should be, but it's all one-way traffic, isn't it?
Yeah. I think we've been working on our goals and our targets for this program, and it's a global program. It's a very important program. And some of the statistics are interesting. There are 2.2 billion children in the world, and they're telling us that 80% of those children are vaccinated, which is 1.76 billion children are vaccinated currently on this earth, according to the statistics from government. And every day, 365,000 new children are born, and 120 or 120 million kids, or 112 million kids are going to get vaccinated out of that group. 80% of them are going to get vaccinated. And we've been talking about what our goals are, what we want to do. I mean, we don't just want to impact 1 million people. We're not even touching the surface. We want to get into the hands ultimately of every expecting parent. Want to get an Inform Me fact sheet into their hands, just so they can begin to think about things and start questioning things. We want to see massive impact from this program. So the work that the team are going to be doing over the next 12 months is not just running a program for the next 12 months. Everybody will be able to access this information for free, as long as it's available, and we'll update it and bring out new modules as needed and so on. But we really are bringing the fight against governments, and I think that it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the US with Robert Kennedy on the scene, and I think that there'll be a lot of accountability coming the way of the farmer groups. And I think it's going to be a very interesting period of time. But now's the moment where we've got to kick in and do something for the billions of children in the world that have no choice, that have no say in something that could dramatically change their future or kill them.
When do you think we'll start to see or get a bit of a handle on? I mean, the vaccination numbers are obviously down. When do you think we'll start to see what the effects of that are, in terms of SIDS and autism and all those things that are on the radar there after vaccination?
I mean, there's a lot of information. I mean, we were reading. We're actually wanting to run a webinar in December under Vaccine Choice Australia on SIDS. There was a report recently published, and I can't remember the name of the report now. I can give you the reference later, but PubMed or something like that, I think, Chloe, where 79% of children, 79% of children that passed away from SIDS were vaccinated that same day. 79%. Just think about that. Wow. And the report concluded that there was no correlation or concerns with the statistics.
Of course, it's not.
And I've read a bit deeper into it, and there's always a scientific argument, but the fact is it never stops the kids dying. It never stops the carnage that's going on, and no one has an answer. And it's not acceptable when we're spending trillions and trillions of dollars on health around the world to not know why 45 to 50% of the world's children suffer from chronic illnesses.
Peter, can you just say those stats again relating to SIDS?
Well, the information in the report, and Chloe, can you remember the name of the report? It's a PubMed report. You might be able to find it whilst I'm speaking about them. But 79% of children that that passed away from SIDS were vaccinated that same day.
That is horrific.
And look, without sounding too bullish on it, but the time is not to sit back and not take governments on. I mean, you look at the social media banning bill, and they give people 1 day to respond. This is unacceptable behavior. This is not how democracy runs. And the people now need to do something. I'll tell my kids. They've lost a generation. There's lots of things on social media I disagree with, but the one thing I do believe in is choice. And I do believe in the tradition of family and parenting. And the Australian government has taken it upon itself to force people, to bribe people to vaccinate their children. And we're going to start a knowledge index, a childhood vaccination knowledge index, where we're going to get thousands of people to complete this question set to work out what the actual real knowledge of the parents are before they get their kids vaccinated. Because, let's start from the basics. I'd be surprised if parents know more than 5 or 10% of what's going on with the vaccination schedule for kids. I'd be very shocked. I'd be happy if I was wrong, but I'd be surprised if it was greater than that. And we're going to measure it, and we're going to publish it regularly.
What are the numbers in relation to the vaccines? Because I think this is another interesting way to look at it. I mean, in the 70s, how many vaccines did you have compared to today? How many are they getting now before they're 5 years old, before they're attending school, for instance? Just ballpark.
It's
Chloe,
64
I think, is
doses now. So it's 64, and that's not in
64
needles. So some of those are trivalent vaccines. So you're getting 3 doses in one go, which is, when we talk about the occurrence of SIDS in the time period, often that is around the DTaP shot, which is, 4 at once. And it's just increased tenfold each time they've had like major updates to the schedule. So I think I can't remember all of the numbers off the top of my head, but we started at a point of like 12 doses throughout a childhood. And then it went up to, somewhere in the 30s, and now it's at 64. And we never see them be retracted. We never see, okay, well, we've eradicated polio, so there's no necessary need for this polio vaccine in circulation in a society that has good hygiene and healthcare.
100%. I mean,
there's no room for nuance in this conversation. It is what they want you to have when they want you to have it. There are plenty of doctors who've also come out with alternative schedules of spacing them out to lower toxicity with some of the other ingredients that are included. We can't have that conversation.
And Japan does that, don't they? They don't put the 3 in the 1.
There are, many instances in countries around the world where they will separate doses, and you can just have per disease, or you can pick and choose, I suppose, is a way of putting it. But in the West, that absolutely does not happen.
I mean, because you think about car technology since the 1970s. I mean, car accidents back then. I mean, if you whacked into another car head on, there wasn't much chance. I mean, 2 big lumps of steel going together. But look at it now. You've got airbags and you've got all these safety features on cars. Things have improved. I mean, how is it that we're at this point now that everything's improved? The healthcare system should have improved, as you say, that foods and everything, water should be cleaner. Everyone should be having access to better foods and medicines. But you need 60-something vaccines now compared to.
And when we're talking about children's health, we have all of these things that impact it. There are environmental factors, there are genetic factors, there's what we're eating in our diet. And this is the only area that is not allowed to be talked about. There are not allowed to be any questions asked, yet everyone is required to receive it. If we are talking about people, and I've seen since the pandemic, I've seen this, and it's very concerning. Like, one of the things that we used to argue our point on prior to COVID was, if the vaccine schedule is so important and boosters are so important, then how many people in this country are up to date? Because I haven't received any vaccines since I was 15 years old. So am I just a walking virus and infecting everyone around me? No.
So I think, yeah, every which way you look at this issue, there are problems, and it's illogical. But I'll tell you what happened, John. The corporate sector, the pharmaceutical sector, were given a free ticket by the US Senate in 1979 or 89, I think it was.
1987.
87. There you go. I knew you'd be right, Chloe. But 1987, and there's no consequence, there's no liability. So that's when the number of doses really expanded, because there's no risk. And the Supreme Court upheld that decision by the Senate, saying if they're liable, they won't produce vaccines in an emergency. So we'll just have to accept that there are some casualties. I mean, I can't comprehend how every kid is given the same dose. I mean, there's no medication in the world for an adult that everyone gets given the same dose. I mean, there's all sorts of different models for individuals, except for kids. And so, and the Supreme Court, in its wisdom, said, well, we'll set up an injury scheme. And over $7 billion has been paid out, I think, across the US and the UK. And the UK's got a very limited scheme. But, the real problem is that no one can challenge it. Chloe's right. No one can say anything about this. And I don't care. I've got nothing to lose, and I don't care if we have to call out people from all over the world. And I think Robert Kennedy is going to start doing this. But the Australian government, I think, at the very, very, very low end of morality when it comes to vaccinations. I mean, forcing someone to get jabbed so they can feed their kids and feed themselves is you're getting into bikie territory, I reckon.
It's immoral. It's just immoral. It doesn't pass any pub test.
No.
Not in the Australia that I grew up in. It doesn't pass the pub test.
And look, all we want to do is provide the information so people can make their own choices. All right, we're not saying ban it, although if you had learnt what we had learnt, you'd go ban it. But in reality, what we're saying is just get the information before you inject your kid, your most valuable asset in the world.
One of my 3-year-old granddaughters, she got, I think, 7 jabs in the one day.
Wow.
And she went into toxic shock within days of getting it. And that was recurring for over a year. She kept going into spasms and fits. A twin brother had the same shots, no effect. But she went into spasms and fits, and my daughter said, no way are my kids getting vaccinated again. Clearly it was vaccine related. Clearly it was. Now, once again, we get back to the opening comments. Why aren't we all wanting to know? Because there's a lot of us wanting to know. But
I think the proof is, like, you've only got to look at this one vaccine. Now, why? Risk-benefit analysis. Go back to that airline stuff. That's your bread and butter. I mean, you've done it your entire career. Why would you need to give a baby with less than 24 hours of life a hepatitis B vaccine? Why?
Well, I mean, babies do go out and drink and have casual sex. We know that the first 24 hours is quite.
It is madness, isn't it?
it's obscene.
Crazy.
I think.
Obscene.
Oh, sorry, but I was just going to say, because I've always had this view of not putting down to malevolence what you can't put down to incompetence. I think that's a healthier way of looking at things. And there does come a certain point in this conversation, and when you go down this pathway and researching for yourself, that you aren't really allowed to say that anymore, because you see the relationships between the private sector and between governments, and that they are essentially just creating a perpetual market for themselves. That's all this, if we're breaking it down to the bare bones, that's all this is. And I think the thing for parents, we're talking about a schedule that starts from the first day of life. parents aren't even thinking. So they're banking on the fact that we're all too distracted with our work and keeping our lives going to even have a look at it. And then to confront someone with that information and say, well, actually, something that you agreed to possibly hurt your child and has affected their health. There is a lot of pain associated with that. And unfortunately, we just have these two massive corporate government bodies that play off of that fear.
We interviewed a wonderful lady from Washington State in the USA just a few hours ago, Susie Olson,
Oh,
who
yeah.
has been at the forefront of this. Now, her 18-year-old son was had an adverse reaction on the same day that he was vaccinated, and has suffered from severe autism, and her whole life has been turned upside down. Not only has it destroyed her family, it's destroyed the quality of her life and that of her son. It destroyed her marriage, and the gaslighting has been phenomenal. But this lady's ramped up. She just says, "No, this is a hill that I'm planting the flag on, and I'm not going anywhere else." People's lives are inexorably, their destiny is snuffed out because
it's true.
they trust people like Kerry Chant, John, to make medical decisions for their children. Come on.
Wow.
You should be making medical decisions for your children. And if you want to know how to do it and go about it the right way, here it is. Inform me. You can go there and check it out. But for goodness sake, don't trust the government. Don't fall into the trap that I fell into. I fell into that. All my kids got vaccinated. They got everything that was going. We thought we were doing the right thing. I nearly got the Pfizer jab myself. And I just, I can't believe
Well, I think that's the key to it, Hoodie. I mean, some of the stuff the government says is accurate. Look, there's no doubt about it. But look, what we're saying here is that you've got to do your own research. And that's what Inform Me is about, isn't it? I mean, it's an opportunity to be informed about things that are relevant to you and your family and your loved ones. And look, if you can't be bothered to get off your asses to do that for yourselves, well, you might as well take the government advice, because it might be right, it might be wrong. But, you might be dead in 6 months. If that's the risk you're willing to take, well, do it. If you're happy for your vaccines to go ahead and you're happy to put them into your children without reading this information, then sorry, you can't say you haven't been warned. But I think we need to introduce a bill into the government. Now, maybe someone could do that for us to make it compulsory for this information to be also given. I mean, it can't just be a one-way street where people, nurses and doctors and people who are employed by the health department can sit there and just say, this is how it is because that's what the paperwork says. That's what the protocol says. That's what our policy is, because that's not right. You need to be able to allow people to make a choice, but they probably don't know where to get it. They're overawed. They're going into the system. They're stuck in the system. It's very insular, and it's difficult to get information. So that's why we need to be able to break through with great, information like on Inform Me that's easy to access, that can be readily available, and people know about it. And that's really what we're trying to do here, isn't it? Make sure that it's freely available for everyone, so they can go there and like Chloe's done, just make it simple. These are the basics. We're going to tell you why and explain it. And if you've got questions, you can obviously raise them.
And what we need to realise is that informed consent is not a privilege; it's a right enshrined in international law at Nuremberg, at the Nuremberg trials in the late 40s. It's enshrined because a lot of scientists and doctors did the wrong thing by a lot of people. They did despicable things, and it's still going on today. Gain of function is a prime example of that. Why on earth are we fiddling with viruses to see if we can get them to mutate from animals to people? Why are we even looking at that stuff? That's outlawed. It shouldn't even be happening. And who's funding it all? Who's funding it? I mean, it beggars belief. We have to be more educated.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, it's what Inform Me is. If you're informed, you're empowered. You're empowered to make your own decisions. You're empowered to speak out. You're empowered to do all sorts of things. So really, we want to empower a world. We want to empower a world to understand what's going on and what decisions they can make to protect their families.
And I think empowered is the really important word there, because the way that the program has been produced and the way that it's being presented, it is encouraging people to ask their own questions, but it's also answering a lot of them. I think when people first hit this topic, it's a lot of fear and they're not sure what other options there are. And so it's destigmatizing that. And, anti-vaxxer isn't a scary person that's a threat to you or a scary label to have yourself. It's just exercising your own freedom of choice. And that can be at 1,000 different levels. It doesn't have to be take everything. It doesn't have to be leave everything. Maybe you want to go, okay, I want to select this, but that should be your right, not someone telling you.
And we still got to go back to the basics too, and that is that we were all meant to get vaccinated to save Granny, who was already vaccinated. So if we had to get vaccinated to save somebody who was vaccinated, obviously the vaccine doesn't work.
That's right.
I mean, common sense.
It's a comedy skit, isn't it? Really?
Well, it's as simple as this. If you're colorblind and you're not aware of it, you'll think that green is blue. And unless you're educated, unless you're advised and you've been diagnosed and you're aware of what your limitations are, you'll keep thinking that. So this is no different. I mean, you need to find out. You need to look at, what's going on behind the scenes to be able to help you make an informed choice about, what you're looking at.
Well,
Absolutely.
we're going to keep the fight up. We're going to keep talking. A big weekend, Johnny. You're joining me on stage at Norwood Town Hall in Adelaide on Sunday, the 1st of December at 3 o'clock. That's this coming Sunday. You're flying in from Sherman. I'm flying in from Perth after the big event in Perth on Friday night, which is going to be a cracker. Things are ramping up, and they need to be. Now is the time, because the narrative is crumbling, and we don't want to be right. We just want to know.
Yeah.
That's all. We just want to know. So, Chloe, inform me a plug. Tell people how they get onto it. Let them know what they need to know.
Yes, please do. So www.inform-me.org. There you can sign up and you'll receive a link to our pre-series selection of courses there. And we've got 2 more weeks left.
Yeah. And also your great fact sheet. Also your great fact sheet.
Oh, yes. And there's a free report there that you can download that gives an overview of the vaccine schedule in Australia, some kind of historical incidents and aspects that I think are really important to look at. And yeah, it's only just beginning. It's so great. I'm very glad to be talking about it. It's been a while since I've talked about it. I've just been behind the computer working on it. So
yeah, well, you do it very well, and I look forward to seeing you in Perth on Friday night.
oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait.
It's going to be a great event. And Peter, thanks for all that you do. You're amazing, mate. You've been at the front of this for a while now.
Well, we all got to do our bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Johnny, any final comment or question before we close it?
No, look, I think if anyone is out there and, they're wanting to help, I think this is probably one of the greatest initiatives we've come across in the 4 years, because it really does get to the source of the problem. And, I think if this could be sponsored to be put in regional newspapers at a start, take out a 1-page ad, maybe someone out there could sponsor to do that in your local town, so that, prospective parents can actually look at the website and have a choice. There's so many people out there that don't have social media, that wouldn't be aware of any of this happening, and they're just blindfolded by the government perspective on this. And we're not going to change their mindset in a hurry. I mean, the ARPAs of the world are still going to be going after people like me for, asking the questions. But bad luck. It's tough. We'll keep doing it, ARPA. So either get on board or get out of our way.
Out of the way. That's the language I like. Get out of the way. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
That's right.
That's it. Now, gee, I had a really good thing I wanted to say then. Well, there you go. I lost it. But yeah, now is not the time.
Fish oil, bit more fish oil, Hoodie.
Bit more fish oil. That's it. Now's not the time to slacken off. Everybody, get active. Get there. Come to these two events. Show solidarity, and let's get this happening. It's all for a good cause. So, as customary, I'll close with a prayer if everyone's happy with that. Too bad if you're not, anyway. Lord Father in heaven, we just need truth. Lord, we're not seeking to be right. We're just seeking to know. And all we want to do is to be informed, to be able to give informed consent on those things which are being done to our bodies. You've designed our immune system. And Father, it's stood us in good stead. We just don't want to interfere with it. We want to get on with our lives. So Lord, please help these beautiful groups like Inform Me and all the other groups that are working so tirelessly, the AVN and so many others, to try and get this message out there and open the ears and minds of those people who need to take responsibility for their children. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Now, we know that a couple of a beautiful couple who have been following Club Grubbery for a long time answered the call to help fund.
Yeah.
They're amazing, and they don't want to be named, but they know who they are. They'll be watching this. You guys have helped this immensely, and we love you. And there's people rubbish those people who've got money, but there's a lot of really good people who might have funds, but they're very altruistic in what they do, and they're very supportive of causes like this. So if there's anyone else out there who wants to get behind this and make this something that will run on the tracks alongside bureaucracies and maybe make it more attractive that people will get on board of this, then please help. Johnny, you've often been heard to say,
you just couldn't make this stuff up.
We're not. Peter and Chloe, thanks for being on. Stay out of the trees, everybody. If you love somebody and you haven't told them, better get on the phone and tell them. You might just save their life. God bless you all, and we'll see you at the big events in Adelaide and in Perth. Can't wait to see you, and we'll be back next week with more Club Grubbery. Bye for now.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.